I'm Edward Warfield. I'm the publisher of Citybiz. I'm honored today to interview Randy Rienas, the president of Compass Mortgage. Welcome, Randy.
Thanks for having me, Edwin.
Your career, you spent 18 years in commercial banks, including SunTrust, First Union, and Northern Trust. Can you tell us about your career and the decision to launch Compass?
Yeah, I was in the banking industry, as you said, for 18 years. And in the day, this is back in 1996, is when I actually exited and went out on my own. Borrowers would go wherever their money was on deposit, they would go try to borrow from them. And the markets had evolved quite a bit. It was the advent of the commercial mortgage-backed securities market that really interested me and showed me that it was time to go work for the borrower. And the reason I did it primarily was because when you have a captive borrower and they don't go out and try to see what the market's got versus what that lender that they have their deposits at, it was a big mistake. So what we try to focus on at Compass is understanding the marketplace and who's in it. And it's not banks as much today as it was back in 1996. We've got specialty lenders, we've got non-bank lenders, private lenders. We can get pretty much any type of transaction done that makes sense, but we're kind of the first ones to look at it. And if I like the deal and I tell a client that I can place it, well, we can go ahead and we can place that for them. So there's been a lot of evolution in that market.
And so tell us about the decision to launch your own company.
The opportunity was just raging at that point in time because of the CMBS markets and also the just the proliferation of lending sources. So when I see these borrowers come in and they use solely one source, that lender is going to get what they want to do, not necessarily what's best for the client. So we went out and we started showing them to, lenders that were more understanding of, like automotive retail, for instance. That's a type of real estate that it's got two different components in it. One of them is extremely stable. The other one can be volatile. I mean, to get a permit and be able to put up a quick lube next to a tint shop and, then a general mechanic, that's a specialized zoning. But to extend that and make sense out of it, borrowers will go and put more component to it, and they'll add the retail component. So somebody needs to understand both of those and not be afraid of the environmental risks. So really what we do is we know what's going on in the market. We live it. We're in these transactions every day, running a pipeline of them. And particularly in today's post-COVID or almost post-COVID era, where you really need to know where you're going for your debt right now. It's very, very tricky.
So can you share some of the key milestones since starting the company in 2006?
It's been a real evolution. I've been in it for 26 years on my own. That's an accomplishment in a very competitive marketplace. What I've done is developed an extensive list of understanding of the markets, who's doing what, how they're doing it, and for what type of borrower they're willing to work with. The debt has evolved into equity, where I've actually syndicated debt to a pool of investors. I've managed that debt, had to take out senior debt, and it's worked out well. And then ultimately now I'm in ownership opportunities where I'm a sponsor and a general partner or a managing member. And, I'm responsible for all aspects, the balancing of the debt, the equity. So you really get an understanding of the process of debt and equity financing of commercial real estate when you're a principal in it.
And can you describe where Compass is today? What types of loans? Yeah, what is your footprint and where are you today?
Well, today our average transaction is about $6 million. That's kind of Florida real estate. There's a lot of projects that are $6 million versus the 25 to 50 million. So what we're doing today is we're talking to our lenders. We're seeing what kind of opportunities they have, what kind of debt maybe they want to sell, what kind of debt they want to originate. Um, More now than I've ever seen in the last 26 years that I've been out on my own. You need to have somebody that understands the marketplace. There's lenders that have said, we're not making any retail. We're going to make industrial loans. And we're not making construction loans. I mean, it's really gotten diced up. So we, for instance, we're working on a transaction today that's it's a new restaurant in Jupiter that's in the River District. And you say restaurant, people just, how can you finance a restaurant in today's world of COVID? Well, we're almost out of COVID, and it's a construction loan, and the concept is great. The real estate is awesome real estate, and we got a very knowledgeable borrower. So those are all components that we could put together for a successful placement.
So yeah, can you describe some of your recent closings last year and year to date?
Yeah. So this year we did a land. It's a variety, but a kind of you'll see the differentials of what we do. We did I wouldn't say it's hard equity, but it was 10.5%. It was a loan to acquire a piece of land to build 18 townhouses on. And it's a very prominent piece of real estate. It's right across from Jupiter Island. Um, the guy didn't want to guarantee it. He had 50% of the capital raised. It was in roughly an $8.7 million project. We got him $4.5 million of debt at 10% for 2 years, interest only, and that gives him enough time to acquire the property. And now we're working on the second component, which is the development loan for that. We've closed a stabilized industrial project up in Port St. Lucie, just north of Stewart. And we did a medical office building down in Davie, Florida, right near, there's a new HCA hospital going up on the campus of Nova, Southeast University. So that's kind of been what we've done in the last 90 days. Last year we did some multifamily at the beginning of the year. That's kind of fallen out of favor right now. But we did a bunch of retail, and again, another asset class that's a little bit more difficult. But the industrial markets have been very active, and our loans last year ranged from $4 million to about $28 million in a single transaction, and a lot of it was permanent. You know, the markets when COVID hit were relatively frothy, I would say at the time, and they're still incredibly frothy. The prices that people are paying are I think it's astronomical, but there's such an influx of people because of the way Florida dealt with the pandemic versus a lot of the states up in the Northeast. We're seeing an exodus I've never seen people come from California. Now we're seeing people come from California. So it's in a really interesting, exciting time, and you know we go through peaks and valleys in this industry. We're at such a high point on land prices and real estate prices, and you know, with debt prices starting to increase, particularly the long-term 10-year debt, it's going to make for an interesting next couple of years.
And so, what impact has COVID-19 had on your company?
Initially, the market's really tightened up. There's less lenders that are in the marketplace. A lot of them are trying to figure out, and they did great portfolio administration prior to COVID. So the banks know where their money's at, not like they did in 2008. When that hit, they spent 2 years trying to figure out what's in our portfolio. This time, it's very segmented. It's understood. The regulators have done an awesome job with the banks. So you have to know where you're going right now. There are so many lenders that are on the sideline, and with across the board from hard equity all the way to investment grade life insurance quality real estate, the spreads have imploded a little bit, and so have the equity requirements. Before COVID, people were doing 75% loan to cost on construction. They want to be at 65 right now. It really it's just a whole new frontier. It reminds me of when I was a kid, and you take that bulb and that had the Christmas features in it, and the snow was laying down. You pick it up and you shake it. It gets real cloudy and pieces, things go everywhere. That's kind of where we're at today in the market.
And so, what is your expectations for 2021?
I think that it's starting to pick up a little bit right now. I'm hopeful that we get beyond COVID, and the hospitality area that's been just decimated comes back. There's a lot of deferment of debt right now. People aren't paying their rents. The landlords, the owners are getting kind of the short end of the stick, I think, right now. But that's all going to come home to roost. And when they allow the foreclosures to continue, there's going to be lenders that are going to be going after properties. So I think that we're going to see a bit of a remix in the commercial real estate markets. I think there's going to be some opportunities out there, and the people who can jump to the trigger the quickest on the transaction are going to be the ones that win. So, getting yourself prepared for how much debt can I put on a project, and how much equity do I need in that project? People should be thinking about how do they want to structure, make sure that the structures are something that the lenders are really going to do. And then you kind of know going in that the requirement of debt is that you have to have a little bit more equity today.
So, is there any part of the Compass story that you haven't told that you'd like to share with our readers?
It's been a family affair. It's been great working with family, and that's primarily my partner is my wife, Sherry, who we complement each other extremely well. She's very good administratively. I'm the guy who's out talking to the clients and negotiating with the banks. And then my nephew, Matt, has also and he's been with me for now 15 years. And I really enjoyed watching him kind of grow up in the business and gain a better understanding of what it is that we do. And my hope is that Matt can continue this. I'm 61 years old, and you don't want to just leave and go, okay, Compass is done. You'd love to see a kind of succession in it. And I think that Matt's going to grow right into that spot.
When Warren Buffett retires, you can retire.
It's a game to him. I really do want to have some quality time.
So I want to thank you for your time and appreciate sharing the Compass story. It's fascinating to be updated in what's really happening in the commercial real estate space. Yeah, there does seem to be, in fact, I was just reading an article, a mass exodus from New York to Florida. I mean, it's interesting. I'm in Maryland, which is a very, very heavily taxed state, and in fact, I'm on a board of a nonprofit called Maryland Free, which is just up in arms of the anti-business legislation coming on board. So luckily, you're in a business-friendly state. So
it is good to be in Florida, particularly on a day like today, 72 degrees and sunny.
So Randy, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Edmund, thank you very much. Have a great day.